Hey, 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 this is Philip J. Fry, the greatest breakdancer in the world. And you're watching Sinistermoon's Retro Reviews, your one stop for this sort of thing. And also, here's Zoidberg.
Hey everybody. Today I want to give you a look at an arcade in Fort Myers, Florida called the Retro Zone. I was out in Florida with my long-term partner Molly. We decided to go to Florida for our vacation since Molly's parents bought a place out in Punta Gorda, but we're still living in their home out in Colorado. Since we had a free place to stay, we got a rental car and drove all around the state sightseeing and going to places. We wanted to go to the Fort Myers beach, but it was still closed due to the severe beating it took from Hurricane Ian. This footage that you're currently watching was shot on February 25th, 2023, which is almost half a year after Hurricane Ian. Even half a year later, things all around that entire area of Florida were still being repaired and rebuilt. So since we couldn't go to the beach, we looked up other things that we wanted to see. I tend to always look up video game stores, arcades, record stores, and thrift stores everywhere I go, no matter what. When it comes to arcades in this area though, there didn't really seem to be any actual retro arcades. Instead, there were plenty of places that had gambling machines that were called arcades. So I had to really make sure that the place had video games before wasting the time and gas to go out to all of them. The Retro Zone ended up being the only retro video game arcade that I could find within a 100-mile radius from Punta Gorda. We arrived at the Retro Zone mid-afternoon while the sun was still out. There was only a few people there at the time. The pricing for the place seems pretty fair. $15 for a wristband that lasts all day, or $10 for an hour, and if you decide to stay longer you can just pay the additional $5 for the all-day wristband. People can hang out in the drink area for free if they're not playing any games, and you can have birthdays there. You can even rent the entire place for private events. They even allow outside food and drink. This arcade is one of many that I've seen that are slowly but surely converting their monitors to LCD. That's something that I used to frown upon, but anymore I'm starting to just kind of accept it. The LCD monitors don't look as great as the CRT monitors to my eyes. They also subtract from the games as far as making them that much more non-original, but eventually most games in arcades probably will be converted. Sometimes arcades have really badass techs that are able to keep the old CRT monitors going, but most of the time that just isn't the case. Plus CRT monitors without burn-in are getting harder and harder to come by, so you have to find tubes from old TVs that match up to the arcade monitor. So without all that knowledge and effort that goes into hunting down the right TVs, I can see how it's probably easier to just stick an LCD monitor in instead. At the very least, it keeps the games going. It's better to have the games there and fully operational rather than not. All that said, when people put 16:9 widescreens in old vertical games, it makes me cringe every time. It's wrong, and it looks wrong. This arcade has a lot of what I call people pleaser games. The more well-known games like Galaga, Simpsons, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Turtles in Time, Centipede, Defender, Miss Pac-Man, and several others. The same games that you'll often find in bar arcades. They do have a few games that you don't see every day. They also have a good assortment of pinball tables. Now this isn't like a huge arcade, but the amount of space that they have is more than adequate. They even have a home console area, which is pretty much a necessity at modern retro arcades with their current business model. Overall, I was really liking the arcade for what it is, but we had other things that we wanted to do, so we didn't stick around to play any games. Well, for the most part anyhow. I asked an employee if it was okay for me to film the arcade for a YouTube video, and they were totally cool with that, and they even said that I could play a couple games before heading out. My overall impressions of the Retro Zone were that it was a pretty cool place, and I looked forward to going back to play some games someday. This footage that you're currently watching sat on my MacBook Pro for over a year, and I never got around to making a video of it. That is, until now. Molly and I ended up going back to Florida a year later. This time around we went on a cruise that departed from Miami, Florida, and went out to Haiti and Jamaica. When we got back from our cruise, we rented a car and went back out to Punta Gorda. The next day we went back out to Fort Myers and finally got to enjoy the Fort Myers beach. We went to the beaches in Haiti, Jamaica, and a few in Florida, but I think that this one was definitely one of my favorites. It's a very cool beach. Molly found a really nice seashell floating towards her that would have been really cool to keep, but there was actually a snail in it and it didn't want to give up its home. We let it crawl around the beach for a bit, and a few people took pictures and video of it. Then we threw it back out so it could carry on with its life. After watching the sunset at the beach, we made our way back to the Retro Zone. This time around, we got to experience the arcade at night. They updated their sign and window graphics out front, which made the place look more appealing. They still have the same flyer kiosk up front by the door. This time I took a flyer as a souvenir. The first thing I noticed is that a lot of their game lineup is exactly the same. Most of them are in the same spots even. Some of the games that were working are out of order now, and vice versa. Some of the games that they had before aren't there anymore. I didn't see the RoboCop pinball table this time around. I kind of wanted to play that. I was actually looking forward to that one. They still have the RoboCop arcade game, but I have that game at home, so I didn't see the point of playing theirs, especially since their monitor and their RoboCop has for sure seen better days. I really liked the vibe of this arcade at night. It really did take me back to a simpler time when people of all ages stood around playing arcade games together. The decor has changed a bit. The place is looking good. It looked like there was a birthday party taking place there that night, so happy birthday to whoever had their birthday there. I hope it was an epic birthday. Molly and I didn't end up sticking around. We were both wanting to get back to Punta Gorda to have dinner, so I didn't play any games this time around, but that's okay. I've officially been to the Retro Zone 2 times without having to pay, so next time, I'm actually gonna get a wristband, and even if I don't stay for an hour and a half or more, it'll be worth it to show my support. It's important to support your local arcades because it not only helps small local businesses, it helps to keep places around for future generations to enjoy. Playing arcade games will always be cooler than playing games on your smartphone. Playing video games in an arcade with other people is an experience. It's something that I hope never completely goes away. In 100 years, I hope people are still playing these machines because retro arcades need to live on. Redemption games are kind of boring in my opinion. If you want the prize, just buy it and then go play some actual video games. Places like this will always be better than places like Dave & Buster's to me for that reason alone. I don't need some little toy or piece of candy as a reward for playing what are essentially electronic carnival games. Playing actual video games is the reward. That's what you're paying for. I want to take this time to thank the Retro Zone for letting me play a couple free games and just for continuing to exist. It's the only retro arcade in that area, so if you live around there, then you should be over there having fun as often as you can. Or if you happen to be in Fort Myers, Florida, then you should for sure drop by the Retro Zone. I'd like to see them have more of their games up and working in the future. Maybe some different games too. Get that widescreen out of that Galaga cabinet. Use a rejuvenator on your Tempest. Fix RoboCop's monitor. Bring back the RoboCop pin and restore your Golden Axe Death Adder to its former glory while transferring Turtles in Time into a different cabinet. I expect all those changes to be made before I come back next year. I'm talking to you, the Retro Zone. Yeah, I'm just kidding. I really don't expect them to do all that. But it would be a lot cooler if they did. Alright. Time to go smoke another bowl in the parking lot before we head out. See you next time, the Retro Zone. Everybody else, remember to make good choices. Stay sinister.
Hey, this is Tommy Chong, and you've been watching Sinistermoon's Retro Reviews. It's far out, man, and remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Sinistermoon's Retro Reviews.